The dictator laid down his sword and walked home alone. No guards, no army, just an old man crossing a Roman street. He had butchered thousands to save the Republic. And the Republic he saved would be dead within a generation. Because of him. History calls him the man who gave up absolute power willingly, the first to march on Rome, the last to walk away from it. But there is a question no one likes to answer about Lucius Cornelius Sulla. If he loved the Republic enough to retire, why did he build the exact blueprint that destroyed it? Every Caesar who came after him studied his playbook. Every warlord copied his march. He thought he was the cure. He was the disease. He was born around 38 BC into a Cornelii family that had lost almost everything. Old name, empty purse, a patrician boy raised in rented rooms above Roman taverns. He grew up watching actresses, drunks, and gamblers. He learned charm before he learned command. For decades, nothing about him suggested a future tyrant. He was witty, lazy, and broke. Then 2 inheritances dropped into his lap and the lazy young man bought himself a political career. His first real assignment came in Africa, under a general named Gaius Marius. Marius was the rising star of Rome, a self-made soldier, a populist hero. Sulla was supposed to be his quiet, aristocratic deputy. Instead, he stole the war. The enemy was Jugurtha, a Numidian king who had bribed half the Senate and humiliated Rome for years. Sulla rode in the hostile territory, negotiated with the treacherous ally, and walked out with Jugurtha in chains. The victory belonged to Marius on paper. The story belonged to Sulla. He had a signet ring made showing the moment of capture. He wore it for the rest of his life. It was the first crack in a friendship that would burn Rome to the ground. Sulla rose to the Cimbric Wars, then the Social War, where Italy itself rebelled against Rome. He fought brilliantly. He took risks no senator's son was expected to take. He survived ambushes that killed better men. By 88 BC, he was elected consul, the top of the ladder in normal times. These were not normal times. Rome had a new war waiting in the east. A king named Mithridates of Pontus had massacred tens of thousands of Roman civilians in a single coordinated night. Whoever led that war would come home rich, famous, and untouchable. Sulla was given the command. Then Marius, now an old man, used a tribune to steal it back. A messenger rode to Sulla's camp with the news. The army was being reassigned. Sulla stood in front of 6 legions, veterans, men loyal to him personally, not to Rome. And he made the decision that broke a 500-year rule. He turned the army around. He marched on his own city. No Roman general had ever done this. The pomerium, the sacred boundary, had never been crossed under arms. His own officers refused. Most of them resigned on the spot rather than follow him through the gates. Sulla did not stop. He led the soldiers in himself. Romans fought, Romans in their own streets. Tiles rained from rooftops onto legionaries. Smoke rose over the forum. Marius fled into the swamps. 12 enemies were declared outlaws. The consul of Rome had conquered Rome. Then Sulla did something stranger. He held elections. He passed reforms. He sailed east as if nothing had happened. As if the door he had just kicked open could ever be closed again. In Greece, he became the soldier history remembers. He besieged Athens, starved it, and stormed it. He fought Mithridates' generals at Chaeronea and Orchomenus. He won battles he had no business winning, outnumbered and underfunded, cut off from Rome itself. Because while he was in the east, Rome had fallen back into the hands of his enemies. Marius had returned. The streets had run with the blood of Sulla's supporters. Then Marius died, and his faction kept killing. Sulla received the news in his command tent. He did not weep. He did not rage. He simply wrote a letter to the Senate. He was coming home. He landed at Brundisium in 83 BC with 40,000 veterans behind him. Young commanders flocked to his banner. One of them was a 23-year-old named Pompey, already calling himself a general. Italy became a battlefield. Town after town picked a side or was forced to pick one. At the Colline Gate, just outside Rome's walls, Sulla fought the bloodiest battle of his life. The fighting lasted into the night. For hours, he thought he had lost. His left wing was shattered. Then Crassus on the right broke through. By dawn, Sulla was master of Italy. And then the real horror began. He summoned the Senate to a temple. While he spoke calmly about the future of Rome, screams echoed from a nearby field. Thousands of prisoners were being executed within earshot. Senators turned pale. Sulla did not pause his speech. "Pay attention," he said. "Some criminals are being punished, nothing more." He invented a new weapon. He called it proscription. Lists were nailed up in the forum. Names of men declared enemies of the state. Anyone could kill them. Anyone who killed them was paid. Their property was seized. The lists grew. New names appeared overnight. Sometimes the only crime was owning a nice villa. Heads were brought to the forum and laid at Sulla's feet. He sat and counted them. Old grudges were settled. Personal enemies vanished. Wealthy neutrals discovered they had been on the wrong side all along. A young nephew of Marius, by marriage, was on the list. His name was Julius Caesar. He fled into the hills and barely escaped. Sulla let him live, reluctantly. He is said to have warned the others that in this boy he saw many Mariuses. He could see the future. He still could not stop himself from creating it. The Senate, terrified, made him dictator, not for the traditional 6 months, for as long as he wanted. He was now the most absolute ruler Rome had known since the kings. And here is where his story becomes something stranger than tragedy. Pause for a moment, because this is the question every generation asks about Sulla. Was he a monster who saved the Republic, or a savior who destroyed it? He killed thousands without trial. He also restored the Senate's powers. He weakened the tribunes. He rewrote the Constitution by force. Tell me in the comments, would you call him a tyrant, a reformer, or both? I want to hear how you read this man. Now back to the story. Because what he did next is the part almost no ruler in history has ever done. He used his absolute power to write laws against absolute power. He doubled the Senate. He stripped the popular tribunes of their teeth. He fixed the career ladder so no one could rise as fast as he had. He rebuilt the Forum, the Curia, the temples. He celebrated games. He gave land to his veterans across Italy. And then in 79 BC, 2 years after taking the dictatorship, he resigned. He walked into the Forum without bodyguards. He told the Romans he would answer for everything he had done. No one stepped forward. No one dared. He retired to a villa on the Bay of Naples. Wine, books, actors, old friends. He told anyone who would listen that he had saved the Republic. He believed it. He may have been the only one who did. Within a year, he was dead. Some say a slow internal illness. Some say something darker, eating him from the inside. His funeral was the largest Rome had ever seen. His epitaph, by his own design, read that no friend ever did him a kindness and no enemy a wrong, that he did not repay in full. It was the most honest line ever carved on a Roman tomb. And it was also the seed of the Republic's destruction. Because every ambitious young man in Rome had now learned 3 lessons from Sulla. 1. The army obeys the general, not the Senate. 2. Marching on Rome works. 3. If you win, you can rewrite the law and walk away unpunished. Pompey learned it. Crassus learned it. A young Julius Caesar hunted into the hills, learned it best of all. When Caesar crossed the Rubicon 40 years later, he was not inventing anything. He was copying Sulla, step for step, the march, the civil war, the dictatorship. The only difference was that Caesar refused to give the power back. And when Caesar was murdered, his heir Augustus took the same playbook and kept it forever. The republic Sulla thought he had saved was already a corpse by the time he laid down his sword. He had shown Rome that one man with one army could overturn 5 centuries of law. You cannot unteach that lesson. You cannot legislate it away. This was the fatal flaw beneath all his brilliance. He believed his own discipline. He thought he could be the only man strong enough to use the weapon and then put it down. He was right about himself. He was catastrophically wrong about everyone who came after. The proscriptions did not just kill men. They killed the trust that made the Republic work. After Sulla, every Roman senator knew his name might appear on a list someday. Politics became survival, not service. The man who claimed to restore the Republic had taught Rome that the Republic could be erased on a piece of wood in the Forum. Today, historians still argue about him. Brilliant general, lawgiver, butcher, reformer, reactionary, visionary. He is the man modern leaders quietly study when they think no one is watching. The one who took everything, then gave it back. The one who got away with it. The deeper lesson of Sulla is darker and quieter. Some doors, once opened, do not close. Some weapons, once used, cannot be unmade. He thought he was the cure for a sick republic. He turned out to be its first executioner. And he died believing he had won. If this story pulled you in, do me a small favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel reach more history fans. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one, the rulers and conquerors whose decisions still shape the world we live in. Drop a comment and tell me, who do you want next? Caesar, Marius, Mithridates, Pompey, Crassus. The name with the most votes goes to the top of the list. And if you have a personal favorite ruler I have never touched yet, leave their name too. Some of my best videos started as one comment from one viewer. Because the next story is already being written. A man who watched Sulla's Rome with cold, patient eyes. A man who would learn every lesson Sulla taught and one Sulla never meant to give. He would not lay the sword down. He would cross a small river in northern Italy, and the Republic would never breed again. His name was Julius Caesar, and his story begins where Sulla's ends.